Empire. Championship weekend is here, so we're talking about the hottest team in the playoffs. What's up, everybody? It's Mike Jones. Welcome to another episode of the Football Jones podcast. You can read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByMikeJones. And yes, as I said, we're talking championship weekend. AFC Championship coming up with the Tennessee Titans versus the hosting Kansas City Chiefs. I'll be at that game. And then out on the West Coast, we'll have the Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. And really, the hottest team in this postseason is the Tennessee Titans. And so I wanted to talk to my buddy Turron Davenport, who covers the Titans for ESPN's NFL Nation. He knows them inside and out, and he's going to give us some insight on just how exactly this team is doing what nobody really expected. I mean, this team was 2-6 at one point this season. They make a switch at quarterback. They go on a run. Ryan Tannehill, the cast-off from the Miami Dolphins, the hapless Miami Dolphins, has come in, given this offense a spark to get them into the playoffs. And then now it's Derrick Henry who is just putting this offense on his back and carrying them. And Mike Vrabel, second-year head coach, former New England Patriot linebacker, is bringing winning ways to this team. So we're going to talk to Turron about how it's all falling into place and what their prospects are for this weekend right now. All right, now, like as promised, my guy Turron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, been following them through this incredible run. No team hotter in the playoffs than the Titans. Turron, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, no problem. So, are you at all surprised by what you were seeing here from this Titans team? Here they are, 60 minutes away from a trip to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I can't sit here and say I'm not surprised. Obviously, being there, you see what these guys bring to the table, but I didn't think that they would go into Baltimore and beat them the way that they did, right? I knew they had a chance because of their style of play, but I didn't think they were going to go in there and win the way that they did. And, it's been pretty cool, seeing this whole thing happen. So, yeah, to answer your question, I'm a bit surprised.
How exactly have they done it? Physical run game, hard-nosed defense, quarterback who doesn't, turn the ball over. But how did Mike Vrabel get them to go into Gillette Stadium, pull off an upset, go to Baltimore, pull off another upset? What's been the key?
I think really a big thing before you even get into what's going on the field is mindset. These guys are dialed in. They're taking each game one at a time, and they really just have an understanding of the brotherhood, right? I talked to Kevin Byard about that, Jarrell Casey about it, Ben Jones, and they all echoed the same statement, which was when you have a guy that, you look at as your brother, you go just extra harder for him than you would go for just a teammate, and he talked about how, these guys have shed tears together, they grinded together from the summertime to now and everything like that. And there's a unity. So there's something to that, right? And that's something that I really saw in 17 with the Eagles, the same kind of mindset. But then when you look at what they're doing on the field, man, that Derrick Henry, that guy is unstoppable right now. And that's really, the aspect of that team that makes them pack and play. They could go anywhere and win because of Derrick Henry, but then you match that with going plus in the turnover ratio consistently and that defense, the way that they're playing. I mean, to hold the Ravens, that offense to 12 points is unbelievable. So I think those are the 3 or 4 key factors for them and what they've been able to do.
Now, a lot of teams say they are focusing on one game at a time, but what is it about Vrabel's message that sinks in and gets these guys to actually literally do that? Because it really is something a lot of teams say, but what makes them different?
Yeah, I think it's just the respect that they have for Mike Vrabel. I think it starts with that, and just the fact that they know that he's been there and done that, not once, twice, multiple times, right, as a player. So they understand that he was once in their shoes, and there's just something that experience does, to make you listen to what somebody's saying. So I think that's a key factor, and then just the fact that they just have that collective mindset. At the press conference on Monday, these guys are getting questions. I mean, I don't. Some of these reporters are asking them about the Super Bowl, like as if there isn't an AFC Championship game to be played, but they're getting those questions and they're shooting those right down, right? Their focus is on the AFC Championship, and that's something that to a man, the four guys that came up, they were only focused on this game. So it's not just lip service. It's actually, a belief and an understanding, and I think that comes from Mike Vrabel.
I saw on your Instagram, you had posted that video of him standing outside the locker room and greeting every single one of those guys one by one. I don't think I've seen a coach do that before. But you could just see every single dude, even if it was a player in street clothes, the way that he greeted them, you could tell that they all feel like they have a stake in this thing.
No doubt about it. And if you watch that video, the one guy that really exemplified the family atmosphere and the family environment is David Quesenberry. And he's on the practice squad. And if you see the video, he's the guy with the short shorts and shirtless, a sleeveless T-shirt, and their exchange. That's just an example of this guy's ability to place an emotional deposit in every single guy on the roster, right? That guy is a practice squad dude. Their history goes back to Houston. He actually helped Mike Vrabel's son, Tyler, learn how to play the offensive line. Tyler is a starting left tackle for Boston College. You know what I mean? So that it's just there's such a family atmosphere, right? You look at on the sideline before the game and during pregame, Todd Downing is having to catch, the tight end coach, with his son. Mike Vrabel is on the field having to catch with his other son, Carter. It's a family atmosphere, and that's something else that really chips into the whole thing when I say there's a true brotherhood here, because these guys are not only invested in themselves, they're invested in each other and each other's families. It's really cool to watch.
Now, he had a really big decision to make that he made midway through the season, going away from the franchise guy and going to a cast-off Ryan Tannehill as a starting quarterback, and that offense really took off from that point on. Have you talked to him, just about, was that an agonizing decision? Did they feel like they were rolling the dice, or what did they see in Tannehill to make them feel like, this is just something we got to do?
Well, I did ask him that, and he said it was a tough decision, but he said that it was something that he felt had to be done with the team mindset first, right? And he just said they needed a spark. At 2-4, I mean, they were coming off. They scored a touchdown in 2 games, right? They had just been shut out by the Broncos, and they hit rock bottom, and it just was one of those things where they needed a spark, and they felt like the change at quarterback would give them a spark. They didn't necessarily feel like, Tannehill would come in and explode the way that he did. They were confident that he would come in and help the offense, though.
Yeah, I mean, and goodness, I mean, I know the last 2 games he hasn't really put up a whole lot of yards, but he definitely energized that offense. Obviously, Henry is a big tone setter, but just having a guy who will take a couple of those shots downfield makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's funny because earlier this year, I asked Ryan Tannehill what he thought of the game manager moniker. And he said he doesn't give a darn about it, and I think that moniker definitely applies to him. And you mentioned these last 2 games. I think that's really where it applies to him, because what does a game manager do? Hey, listen, I need you to not lose me this game and give me one or two big plays. What has he given the Titans in the last 2 weeks? One or two big plays, and he didn't lose the game, right? You look at that throw to Jonnu Smith, the trust that he had to put it up there in the corner of the end zone for his guy to make a play, and then that dime that he dropped to Khalif Raymond for the 45-yard touchdown, right off of a stop on 4th and short. Outstanding plays. And then in the Patriots game, both times he hit Anthony Ferguson, tight window throw in the red zone, which, by the way, that dude's red zone stats are stupid, right? And 70% completion in the red zone. And then on top of that, the red zone offense overall, they're scoring touchdowns in the red zone at a clip of 73%. They haven't had a guy kick a field goal since, I think it was like week 14 or something silly like that. So that offense is rolling, and he's a big part of it.
Okay, so they're about to go up here against a very explosive offense. We saw them, the Patriots weren't the Patriots. Their offense wasn't, but they handled them. We saw them, really. Lamar put up numbers, but not points. Do they have enough to be able to match firepower with the Chiefs, or do they have enough defensive forces to be able to contain that offense and do just enough offensively to win this game?
They have enough to go in there and play their game and come out with a win, right? They don't have to – it's a combination of both questions that you asked, to be honest with you. They got caught up in a shootout against the Chiefs and won that, in week 10. But I think really it comes down to the rushing attack, right? And keeping Derrick Henry on the field is going to be the best defense for that Chiefs offense. The less time Pat Mahomes and that crew has to get on the field, the better. Now, along with that, running the football early to get that crowd out and consistently running the football, committing to it and continuing to do it to keep the crowd out is going to be huge. But there's going to be a need to have at least one big passing play. Now, here's the deal. If they get that game close and keep it close and enter the second half, it's going to be a serious problem for the Chiefs because the Titans are a much better second half team than they are first half, and especially Derrick Henry. So I think when you look at that defense and the pressure that they're able to get on the quarterback, especially up the middle with Jeffrey Simmons, low-key, Jeffrey Simmons was one of the huge reasons why they were able to contain that Ravens offense. So he's big time. Jarrell Casey. And then Adoree Jackson is beginning to play well. He gives them someone who could somewhat keep track of Tyreek Hill down the field. So that's going to be a matchup to watch. The safeties are going to be deep. I think Travis Kelce is probably the Chiefs' best chance on offense. But I still think the Titans overall have the ability to go into Arrowhead and punch that team in the mouth and follow up, because the Texans punched them in the mouth, but they didn't follow up. I think they could, hit that right cross, follow that up with an uppercut, and leave Arrowhead with the win.
So are you picking them to win?
I definitely am.
Wow.
I'm picking the Titans to win. Okay. And that's not drinking Kool-Aid or anything like that. Last week I picked the Ravens to win, but it's just styles make fights. And I think this is a case where you have a team that's not built on physical football. This is a team that I think can, like I said, be punched in the mouth and have it taken to them. See, the Texans didn't commit to the run. They didn't run the football when they got the lead. And they had silly coaching decisions. I don't think you have that same thing out of the Titans.
Gotcha. So is there anything about this Titans team that scares you, that you're just a little concerned about as they go up against this Chiefs team?
Well, yeah, naturally. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I think being able to match up with them, those are definitely areas for concern because, it comes down to outside of Adoree Jackson, who can go downfield with Tyreek Hill. So now, are you going to have Adoree Jackson travel with him? Or are you going to play zone? You have to be careful with that. And I will say, again, Travis Kelce, the tight ends have traditionally given this Titans team a lot of work. So I think between those two, and obviously Mahomes, you know what I mean? So it's not so much what the Titans have that would cause reason for concern. It's what the Chiefs have. And in those three guys, because Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. And, you know, he showed how he could catch fire. And that dude catches fire and extends plays and does some of the things he does. He's very hard to stop.
So, and I don't really – I mean, I feel like if they get the run game going, though, I don't know how they slow Henry down. I mean, because he steamrolled the Patriots, and they're a much better run defensive team. I mean, they steamrolled the Ravens. Do they have enough?
Yep.
I don't know that, you know, that the Chiefs really have an answer for Henry.
Yeah, and especially if Chris Jones isn't playing, that's going to be a serious problem. And Colin Saunders is a prospect that I really like coming into this draft, you know, and I think he's a good player, but he's not Chris Jones. And then on top of that, this defense is going to be continue to be without Juan Thornhill. So there are some missing pieces there that I think, you know, will play a major role as far as this team's run defense. And like I said, man, I think Derrick Henry runs all over them, and I think the Titans win.
Now, last time they did play, Mahomes 36 for 50, 446 yards, 3 touchdowns, but they still pulled out the win. Tannehill, 13 completions, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's not crazy to think that Patrick Mahomes could still go off and this team could still get the job done.
Right. That's true. He could definitely go off. And you know, here's the thing. Dean Pease and his defense, they're going to give up yards. They don't mind giving up yards, but they hate giving up points. And Dean Pease has said that over and over again. He's willing to give up yards, but once it comes down to getting in that red zone, they try to tighten up. And that's what, you know, that's the phrase for the team. So they knuckle down and you know, they get a little bit, you know, more, their defense gets better, put it that way, okay. You know, and that's something that I think should be noted. And that's something you have to focus on because they are pretty solid in the red zone scoring side of things, but they will give up yards. So to your point, yeah, Mahomes could definitely pass for 450, but how many of those 450 are going to lead to touchdowns? And I think that's really going to be the factor as far as the passing game against this Titans defense.
All right, so you're going with them. You're taking the Titans, going to the Super Bowl. What kind of – I mean, that would just be a huge accomplishment, a huge storyline for Mike Vrabel. Even whether they win or lose in the Super Bowl, just to get them there after the start that they had would just be pretty remarkable, for, you know, body of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tale of two seasons, right? 2-4, 7-3, right? And then this playoff run. I think that's really the case. And you look over the last 6 weeks of the season, there are very few teams that were playing better football than the Tennessee Titans. So I think that decision to go to Tannehill and just everything coming together because you got the offensive line playing better, A.J. Brown doing what he did, and Derrick Henry is on a historic – only Adrian Peterson in that 2,000-yard rushing season, those 2 stretches that he had, those are the only times where a guy had a better stretch than what Derrick Henry has had over the last 8 games. So that says a lot.
That's crazy. All right, man. Well, I am going to see you on Sunday. I will be there. Tell everybody.
Yes.
Tell everybody where they can find you, read all your good work.
Yeah, for sure, man. ESPN.com. Just go to that NFL page, click on Titans, and you'll see what I have there. Follow me on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL. You get the breakdowns, articles, everything on there. We have a podcast, Talking with TD. We actually go into the locker room with a player on the phone, and I just have a conversation with a player. It's awesome. You will love that. You'll understand the things that go on beyond what you see on the field. Just search that on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Talking with TD. And we have a live show at the Game Nashville, ESPN Nashville Radio. It's called the Chase and TD Show, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time.
It's a good deal. Oh, and then on Instagram, you got your Instagram platform too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Turron Davenport on Instagram. Look me up.
All right, good deal. Hey, man, I really appreciate it, and I will see you on Sunday.
For sure. See you Sunday, man. Take care.
All right, there you have it from Turron. You know, I had to turn in my picks on Tuesday, and I picked the Chiefs to win in a close game. But the more I think about this thing, the more I'm not going to be surprised at all if Tennessee wins. You know, they beat this team before with Patrick Mahomes having a monster game. But they were able to have another monster game from Derrick Henry in that game. They played defense got the stops they needed. So it's going to be really interesting. I know everything changes in the postseason, but this team is flying high, and they might be primed for another upset victory. Could you imagine you squeak into the playoffs and you go to New England and knock off that dynasty? Then you go to Baltimore, beat the hottest team in the league. And then if you can win at Arrowhead, beating Patrick Mahomes and that high-flying offense and get to the Super Bowl, that would be just an incredible ride. We will see what happens there. I've got the 49ers beating the Green Bay Packers. I hope it's a good game. The 49ers beat them very handily earlier this season. But, you know, if you remember when talked to Aaron Jones on Sunday, he said, you know, this team has grown a whole lot since then. They went over things after that loss. They were sloppy. They had poor communication. And they're on a roll. They've won 5 straight regular season games. Then this past Sunday's was 6. And so they're expecting a better outcome. You know, again, everything changes in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers brought out the special last week on Sunday in the closing minutes to clinch that divisional victory over Seattle. You know, he's highly motivated. Teammates say that there's a different look in his eyes. He's got more of a sense of urgency. He's reminding them, hey, guys, like, it's win or go home. We have to bring it all here. And so we'll see. He didn't really have much special anything the last time they played. The defense really got after him. But do they have an answer? I just don't know. Matt LaFleur has really done a good job with this team, but he's going up against his buddy Kyle Shanahan. It's basically like he's playing his big brother in basketball, and his big brother taught him all his moves, and he knows how to stop him. So Kyle knows Matt's tendencies. He knows his philosophies. And so Matt has really got to dig deep into that bag, figure out how to break out all the tricks, and bring something that Kyle and defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, who also knows Matt very well from their time together in Houston, he's got to figure out how to bring something that they're not expecting, and then hope that Aaron Rodgers can, you know, help elevate them, because he's been in this moment before. He's, you know, no stranger to this pressure, and maybe they hope that Jimmy Garoppolo kind of falters a little bit. But it's going to be a fantastic week of football. Hope you guys are ready for it. Thanks again for listening. Again, you can read me at usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @ByMikeJones. Thank you. If you're not already subscribing, do so. And do me a favor, take the link from this podcast, send it to a buddy or two, get them on board, leave me a rating, a review, and I will talk to you guys Monday morning as we break down who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl.